Thank you for this opportunity. As the great 21st century philosopher and comedian Jonathan Winters said, if your ship doesn't come in, well, then just swim out to it. And that's what our family's been doing for 42 years. That was the age when Sean was diagnosed with severe autism. It wasn't a great time. There were no dreams, there were no hopes. People that entered that world that had a disability were dehumanized and marginalized. But that's not how I want to end that story, because I'm here because I have a lot of hope. I believe adults with autism, spectrum disorders, no matter how severe, can have a good life, a valued life, and they have gifts. So what is the state for adults? This is the bad news part. We all know, or we've heard, that about 85% of those on the spectrum are younger than 21. And we know the explosion of autism that we've seen around us. What is going to happen to all those individuals that enter the adult world? And then there's a huge percentage of those in the regional center system that are 18 and older and still living with their families. And I don't even know about the ones that don't get in the system, that aren't eligible. And actually, I have to speak to this because my son is 44. Almost worse than not getting services, for some older people were the ones that got inappropriate services, and they are forever scarred, suffering from post-traumatic stress. And we can't talk about our population of autism spectrum disorders without being acutely aware of how vulnerable our population is to abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, over-medication. And you know, we can't even get a bill on seclusion and restraint signed, federally or in this state. What does that say to us? In New York, I read that they're going to create a whole department to protect people with disabilities against abuse. So what do we know and what do we need? You know, it's really interesting. I mean, I can't believe my son's 44, and I make the joke he's older than me. I don't know how it happened, but it's not a mystery. It's not magic what adults need. You're adults in this room, what do you need? They need the same thing you and I need. They need something to do during the day, and they need a job that makes sense, something they want to do. They need a place to live, and guess what? They need to choose who they live with. They need friends and real relationships. They need appropriate supports and accommodations. And I just want to do a little lesson because I'm old. I don't like the word independence. I'll tell you why. Because it was a barrier. It was like a curse. If your kid couldn't be independent, why serve them? Or if they were too independent, they don't need services. So I would love us all to use a different word. It's called interdependent. I think we're all interdependent. I want to know someone in this room who doesn't need anybody or doesn't have anybody else in their life. Adults don't want to be controlled. They want privacy. They want safety. They want respect for their cultural diversity. So self-advocates have come up with this button that I didn't bring up here. Anyone speak Latin? It's nihil de nobis sine nobis. I hope I said it right. It says nothing about us without us. And if you take anything out of this room today, I would love you to take that. And what we have to see when we're working with older adults, what worked and what didn't work. Sensory motor movement issues become way more apparent as our kids get older. And there has to be accountability. So what are our home runs? Our home runs, as you know, is Senator Steinberg, who shepherded and actually got into law insurance coverage. It makes me so happy that I live in this state, and we're lucky. Another positive thing was that I hear Kaiser's finally paying after years of denying services. Another positive thing is that a legal opinion on regional centers reimbursing for insurance payments. That's amazing. Here's what I want to say as a mom and as a parent of an older child, an adult. Whatever happens with insurance, we all have to ensure children and adults get to take full advantage of this law, no matter where they live, where there are no barriers, such as copays, lack of choice of agencies, or the type of therapy. In fact, the Autism Society of LA wants to do a survey once this gets going. We're talking about adults, and you know, people that are adults are pretty much poor and on Medi-Cal. So we have to fight to make sure that Medi-Cal gets covered. If you're under 26 and you're on your own family's insurance, then you will get coverage. And I don't know why Medicare can't be covered.
Vista Center for Behavior Analysis, empowering independent lives. Go to vistacba.com or talk to an autism professional today at 818-646-6650.